Okay, anyway, a feudal society. Let's move on to that. The story of the 47 Ronin illustrates 3 levels of Japanese society: the emperor, the nobility, and the samurai. Japan's feudal system was based on land. Local lords controlled domains and they supported themselves by collecting taxes from peasant farmers, right? So any kind of pyramid will always have who makes most money, who makes least money, right? And then in between there are the people that kind of build up and down, okay? So this rigid social structure was intended to help the shogun to maintain control. Control is always maintained. We see this in every single thing that we know in our society, right? If you work downtown, you got your boss, then you got the person you report to, you got the manager, you've got the vice manager, you've got whatever, you got all these different things, okay? Membership in each class was hereditary. That is determined by birth. So now we're adding to that structure by saying, all right, if you're born into the right family, then you get more money. Okay, although people could not officially move up in hierarchy, people in lower levels did manage to improve their situation through hard work, talent, or gaining wealth. So it's like, oh, he's not part of our family, but man, he's good at what he does, and he's making a lot of money. You know what? Let's just hold him at a higher respect level. We're not gonna like give him power or anything, but we'll hold him to high respect. So it's like, I don't know, right? It's like being thanked for doing a good job. Anyway. Rules in society. Strict rules govern the behavior of each class. There were 216 rules regulating dress code from everyone from the emperor to the lowest member of society. Upper class women had to wear 12 silk kimonos with an exact combination of colors shown. So, like the picture. Peasants were not allowed to wear clothing made of silk, even if they were silk farmers. You'd be like, but I made it. And you'd be like, I don't care. Give it to the person who's supposed to wear it. But I made it. It doesn't matter. There were also rules regarding houses and possessions. Rules that dictated to whom each person had to bow and how low, and if you disobeyed these rules, harsh punishments were assigned. So again, right, obey the rules, have a nice, stable society. So here's a chart that I'm asking you to complete. Look at pages 289 to 294 in your text and list the responsibilities of the different parts of Japanese society and 2 facts about their rules, okay? This is for you to complete. So you can pause and do that now, or we can just keep going. Let's keep going. Alrighty, honor and duty towards a harmonious society. The shogun did not create the Japanese social structure. However, they used its values and social controls to support their rule. Social controls are the rules and customs in a society that regulate people's behavior. The purpose of social controls is to maintain order in a society. Okay, so what kind of rules maintain our behavior? When we look at bylaws in the city, right? I can't just go outside my door and litter. That's not okay. It's a bylaw. It's also just like a fundamental thing you shouldn't do, but it's a bylaw, and if I break it, I could get fined. I could get money taken away just for my behavior, right? So it's not even about just breaking the law, and we're not even looking at 10 commandments anymore of thou shalt not kill or covet. It's like, no. If you throw that piece of paper on the road, we are going to take money from you, right? So then comes in Confucianism. The teachings of Confucianism played an important role in the Japanese acceptance of class distinctions. Confucius was a Chinese scholar whose teachings for moral living were brought over to Japan by Buddhist monks, okay? So here's some religion spreading now and changing some worldviews and kind of keeping them in line. Confucianism taught that everyone had a proper place in society. Perfect, they said. That's great. That's what we're trying to say. This person makes money, this person makes some money, this person makes no money, and you stay in your places. Don't move, right? If everyone accepted their duties and obligations, there'd be peace and order. If not, there'd be chaos and suffering. So if you suddenly want to move up, I think I'm going to be emperor one day. Well, that's going to cause some problems, right? Okay, Confucius taught there were 5 basic relationships, okay? So ruler, there's a father, subject, children. Husband rules over his wife. Older brother rules over his younger brother. Friend rules over his friend. Duties and obligations were to be wise, okay? Were to be a wise and just leader, to support and provide for others, to protect the other, and to obey, to respect, and to honor. Okay? So, ruler and subject. Some of those, lots of those, have changed, right? Group responsibility, though, and shame comes into play. The samurai organized the peasant classes into groups of 5 families called gonegumi. Apologies for pronunciation. Members of these groups were supposed to help each other, and each person was considered responsible for the behavior of the others in the group. So it's kind of like if I were to give you groups in class. And I would say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, ones get together, twos get together. And then I were to go further and say, okay, you, Timmy, are the leader of your group. You're going to oversee everything. Tommy, you're gonna be like the note taker. Okay, that's what I'm gonna get you to do. So you're just gonna take notes, everything you guys say. And Sylvia, you're gonna be the you're gonna be just the listener. All you're gonna do is listen to what the others do. Sylvia, don't offer any suggestions to this group. Okay? You're just gonna listen. Okay, so Tommy, you take notes. Timmy, you're the leader. Sylvia, you just listen. Go. Everyone in the group could be punished, though, if one was disobedient, did not show respect to a superior, or did not work hard enough. So if Sylvia starts talking, that's it, punished. If Timmy starts trying to tell Tommy what to do and vice versa, that's not good. The only person is the one who's supposed to be leading, and that's it. So it's a very interesting dynamic, okay? After all this is all settled, here comes first contact with the West. So we're going to take a step back in time 50 years before Tokugawa Ieyasu united Japan. It's the European age of exploration, and the Japanese came into contact with a culture very different from its own. How do you think they might have responded? So, now we're going back in time. Back in time. The Southern Barbarians. In 1543, a Portuguese ship was wrecked off the shore of a small Japanese island. They were traders, and because they approached Japan from a southerly direction, the Portuguese became known as the Southern Barbarians. They were soon followed by the Spanish, Dutch, and British traders, and the Christian missionaries. Okay? Portuguese society, which had been influenced by the Renaissance values and ideals, favored competition and the individual and a more flexible social structure. New kind of belief. Francis Xavier, a Jesuit, arrived in Japan in 1549. His mission was to convert the upper classes, the daimyo and samurai, to Christianity. Franciscan priests worked with the poor and lower classes. There were some similarities between the beliefs of the Christian clergy and Japanese values. Both had ethical codes, rules about right or wrong behavior. However, the Christian idea of monotheism, one God, right? And we remember this a little bit, right? Monotheism means one God, polytheistic means multiple gods, okay? It was a new one to the Japanese, who were mainly polytheistic. So they were like, one God, we have lots. Okay. The Japanese were expected to be totally loyal to their daimyo, emperor, and the shogun. The Christian missionaries, on the other hand, taught that a person's spiritual loyalty could be to God in heaven. It became very clear to the shogunate that what Christianity stood for was very different from the beliefs that were considered an essential part of Japanese identity. So, when we had that first contact, what sort of things were changed? What sort of things sounded like, oh, that doesn't sound good, mister, that sounds like that's not going to work out. What about this group responsibility and this whole thing of shame if you didn't follow the rules? What about Confucius? So basically at the end of this PowerPoint, you should be able to answer the questions that we had at the very beginning there with that chart. Which means of controlling the daimyo would be most effective in ensuring loyalty? Which means of controlling the daimyo would be most effective in ensuring obedience? Go back, fill out the chart in the PowerPoint, fill out your notes. Make sure you're very familiar with Chapter 13. Overall, the next project we're going to get into is going to likely deal with haikus, poetry to show your learning, but also to just get a sense of what you reflect on in your society. So if this was the worldview that we lived in, if there were really harsh rules, just a couple days ago, current event for you, a couple people were fined in Calgary for breaking the social distancing laws right now. The things that we're trying to do to come back together as a community. So, with that in mind, do you feel like our worldview does influence the way we operate? If our government tells us to do something, how does it change our living standards and all that? So, take a look through this week. Your primary goal is to be very familiar with the concepts of Chapter 13. Tune in on Wednesday for social help. If any of this is unclear and you want to ask myself or Mr. Schweeder any questions, tune into that. It's at 1:30 on Wednesday. And otherwise, thanks for watching this week's social update.